Good morning, everyone. My name is Nai-Ying Chang, and I am very pleased to present my study titled The Use of Generative Artificial Intelligence to Support Practice, Visualization, and Assessment in the University English course. In this presentation, I will focus on how teacher-guided generative AI was used to help lower proficiency university EFL learners access English learning materials, practice more frequently, and receive clear learning support. This slide briefly introduces the presenter. I'm currently teaching university English courses in Taiwan, and this study grew directly out of my classroom teaching experience with first-year non-English major students. I am a full-time assistant professor at the General Education Center of Chopin University of Science and Technology in Taiwan. My teaching includes English for general purposes, English for academic purposes, and English for specific purposes. My research interests include literacy development, program evaluation, non-native English-speaking professionals in English language teaching, and the integration of computer technology and artificial intelligence into language education. This study connects these interests by examining how generative AI can be used carefully and pedagogically in a real university English classroom. The starting point of this study was a common classroom challenge. Many lower proficiency EFL learners do not necessarily refuse to learn English, but they often struggle to begin textbook-based tasks. Vocabulary difficulty and reading difficulty can lead to repeated comprehension failure. After repeated failure, students may lose confidence, become less motivated, and avoid sustained engagement. Therefore, the course needed a type of support that was lower load, more visible, and richer in practice opportunity. In this study, generative AI was introduced not to replace teaching, but to help transform different textbook content into clearer and understand what to do before they can practice effectively. The purpose of the study was to examine how teacher-guided generative AI could support English practice, visualization, and assessment in the university English course. 3 research questions guided the study. First, did students improve in reading and vocabulary performance after the intervention? Second, what were students' post-intervention levels of motivation, psychological needs satisfaction, and English learning anxiety? Third, how did students perceive the AI-supported learning activities? These questions allowed the study to consider not only achievement outcomes, but also students' effective responses and learning experiences. This is important because a successful intervention should improve scores while also helping students feel that English learning is more possible. The study was informed by 4 main areas of literature. First, research on low-achieving EFL shows that limited vocabulary, reading difficulty, and anxiety often interact with one another. Second, the concept of comprehensible input suggests that students need learning material that are understandable but still slightly challenging. Third, multimedia learning supports the idea that visualized content such as tables, concept maps, and sentence frames can reduce processing burden and make abstract language patterns easier to understand. Finally, recent research on generative AI suggests that AI can support language learning, but only when its use is clearly bounded by teacher design, task goals, and learning purposes. Without clear boundaries, AI might simply provide answers with clear boundaries. It can become a scaffold for learning. The framework of the study includes 3 dimensions. AI-supported practice, AI-supported visualization, and AI-supported assessment. For practice, AI was used to help generate a practice bank, sentence revision, task, and quiz support. For visualization, AI helped organize content, maps, tables, and sentence frames. For assessments, the course used pre- and post-test, feedback, and learning evidence to evaluate outcome. The overall goal was to provide clear input and more practices and more formative feedback. In other words, AI was not used as a shortcut, but as part of a structured learning support system. Practice, visualization, and assessments were treated as connected parts of the same instructional cycle. Research design. This study adopted a classroom-based teaching practice research design. It used a single group pretest, post-test design in a 18 weeks first year university English course. The design was appropriate because the purpose was examining a real instructional intervention in an existing classroom context. Importantly, AI was used as a teacher-guided scaffold, not as an answer generator. Students were guided to use AI for vocabulary explanation, sentence simplifications, practice generation, and correction, while the teacher remained responsible for instructional design and learning assessment. Participants. The participants were 30 first-year non-English major students at the University of Science and Technology in Taiwan. Most students were at approximately CEFR A1 to A2 level, and many had difficulty with vocabulary and vocabulary recognition and reading comprehension. The background information also shows the lower proficiency nature of the group. 20 students, or 66.7%, rated their English as very weak or somewhat weak. In addition, 22 students, or 73.3%, reported no prior TOEIC or English proficiency test experiences. This context made the class suitable for examining AI-supported learning support for lower proficiency learners, especially learners who may need more visible steps before they can complete textbook tasks independently. Intervention time. The intervention time was implemented across one semester. In week 1, students complete the pretest. From week 2 to 8, AI-supported practice and visualized learning tasks were introduced. Week 9 was the midterm examination. From week 10 to week 15, students continued with extended practice. In week 16, the questionnaire was administered. In week 17, students complete the post-test. Overall, the semester was designed to combine practice, visualization, and assessment support in a repeated and systematic way. The repeated structure was intended to make the learning process predictable and less intimidating for students. AI-supported activity. The AI-supported activity has several functions. First, textbook content was transformed into simpler learning input so the student could begin the text more easily. Second, key points were visualized through tables, concept maps, and the sentence frames. Third, AI helped generate varied practice items from the same sentence pattern, which allows students to practice repeatedly without simply memorizing one answer. Finally, AI provided vocabulary explanation, sentence simplification, and sentence label correction. These activities were all teacher-guided, so the focus remained on learning support rather than automatic answer production. Students were encouraged to use AI to understand, revise, and practice, but not to bypass the learning task. Now let's talk about the data collection and analysis. 3 types of data were collected. First, the pre- and post-achievement tests measure students' English reading and vocabulary performance. Because the normality assumption was not met, the well-costed sign rank test was used for analysis. Second, a 22-item questionnaire was used to examine motivation, psychological needs satisfaction, and English learning anxiety. Descriptive statistics and Crumb's alpha were calculated for this construct. Third, open-ended feedbacks was collected to understanding students' perception of the course activities. These responses were analyzed through thematic coding. This combination of quantitative and qualitative data helped the study connect test performance with students' actual classroom experiences. Result 1. Achievement improved. The first major finding was the student achievement improved after the intervention. The mean pretest score was 44.33 and the mean post-test score increased to 72.50. The mean gain was 28.17 points. The well-custom sign rank test showed statistically significant improvement with Z equals to 4.64 and P less than 0.000. The effect size was large. Our results are equals 0.85. In addition, 27 out of 30 students improved from pre-test to post-test. These findings suggest that AI-supported practice and teacher-guided learning activities were associated with stronger reading and vocabulary performance. The result is especially meaningful because the learners began the course with relatively weak confidence and limited vocabulary knowledge. Result 2. Effective outcome. The second result concerns students' effective outcome after the intervention. The mean score for adaptive motivation was 3.17. Psychological needs satisfaction was 3.25, and English learning anxiety was 3.29. These results suggest that students' motivation and need satisfaction were moderate, but anxiety also remained moderate. This is an important finding. AI support may have helped students access learning material and complete practice activity, but it did not remove anxiety for all students. Therefore, technology support should be combined with continued emotional support and teacher encouragement. For lower proficiency learners, anxiety may decrease slowly and may require repeated successful experiences over time. Result 3. Student feedback. The open-ended feedback provided a more detailed picture of students' learning experiences. About 33.3% of students report higher motivation or confidence, and another 33.3% report reduced anxiety and gain in confidence. Students most frequently identify teacher support and clear instruction as helpful. They also mentioned the worksheets, AI-assisted learning, and online quizzes. This suggests that AI was useful, but it was not useful alone. It worked best as part of a guided support system that includes teacher explanation, structured practice, and learning and clear learning tasks. This also shows that students still value human support very strongly in an AI-supported classroom. Discussion. Overall, the findings suggest that low-load AI-supported practice can improve students' access to English text. Visualization may have helped students make vocabulary meaning and sentence pattern and more concrete. The achievement results were positive. Okay, the result achievement was positive, but the effective results were more complex. Motivation and psychological needs satisfaction were moderate, and anxiety remained moderate. This means that AI can support learning performance, but it cannot automatically solve the emotional challenge of English learning. The most important point is that AI is most effective when it is guided and limited and aligned with instructional goals. In this sense, the teacher's role becomes even more important because the teacher decides when AI support is useful and when students should struggle productively. Implication and future research. There are several pedagogical implications. Teachers can use AI to generate repeated and label appropriate practice. They can also use AI to visualize reading, passage, and sentence pattern before assessment. However, teacher guidance should remain central. Students need clear boundaries for how to use AI responsibly and productively. For future research, a comparison group design would provide stronger evidence. Future study may also separate vocabulary and reading subscales, collect interview or learning journal, and examine delayed learning effects. This direction would help us better understand how AI-supported instruction influence both achievement and learner experience over time. They would also help teachers refine AI use for different groups of learners rather than applying one universal model to all students. Okay, alright, so thank you very much for listening to my presentation. I welcome your questions and comments, especially on how AI-supported practice and visualization can be further developed for lower proficiency EFL learners. Thank you.